All right, Waterlase dentist, you are in the right place if any of the following apply to you. Now, first of all, if you say to yourself that this laser is spending more time in the corner than the operatory, it's not increasing the practice revenue or production at all, and sometimes you just get annoyed by the payment or you don't think it's a good investment, you're in the right place. If you want to save time but feel that your laser is just slower than your handpiece or a scalpel, you're in the right place. If you think your Waterlase does not work on cavity preps, or you don't like to use it on cavity preps, or a patient said, ouch, or you were frustrated, or it made the schedule go longer, you're in the right place. If sometimes it works good and sometimes it doesn't, and you don't understand why, and it's just not predictable, you are in the right place right now. And if you just want it to work like you envision, I know you bought it for good reasons. You saw your instructors and maybe a college roommate or a peer doing really great things with it, but you just feel like it's not as fast, it's not as conservative, you're not doing more procedures with it, and your patients aren't having awesome experiences. You're in the right place. And if you're saying to yourself, Nick, I took all these trainings, I've been on YouTube, it still didn't work. And I understand this. And what you need to understand is an alternative approach is really required to get your laser, what I call kicking ass and removing the frustrations that you can have sometimes with dentistry. So I define kicking ass and doing better as one, the laser should be better than traditional modalities. It should be more um, conservative. It should be faster. It should be easier. It should be cleaner, less bleeding, less trauma, and the patient should have a better experience and not have that sensation in their head of grinding or cutting or that bleeding. And we're not running a charity. So we want it for better clinical reasons and for better ease of use for you, but we're running a business. So my goal when I work with doctors is to increase their production by 10% year after year. And and I have a whole nother course on this, and I did practice management coaching for 5 years, but I really believe, and I've seen it done, that this is a great catalyst. A laser can be a great catalyst for your practice to transform it into what you always envisioned it to be, your dream practice, if you will. So, what makes me qualified to even make these statements or say these things? First of all, just a little bit about my history. I spent 8 years working at an dental laser company. It was actually, I think, the second or third biggest in North America. I've got my certifications from the ALD. We did all of our training out at LVI Global. And then they sold that business, and I actually acquired the training rights for Hoya Combio and started a company back in 2012 called Dental Laser Coaching. And I've been doing laser coaching now during my time at Hoya and since I acquired the training rights. I also did a little bit of work with PIPs, and so an endo bought that patented technology. So if any of you have done endodontic canal sterilization, I was involved with that for 3 years. But currently, and for 5 or 6 years now, I've been working with Fortune Management. They're the largest dental practice management consulting firm in the country. And I actually am the director of their laser management division. So laser mastery division. And I was doing dental project management in Vegas for 3 years, meaning I'd go into office and do team and practice consulting. So I really have a wide gamut of training and expertise, not only in lasers, but I not only have experience with Biolase, I've done work with Fatona. I've done over 150 in-office trainings for Convergent Dental. I've been to trainings for Dentsply, Thor, Ultradent, DECA. So I really have an agnostic view. I'm not employed by anybody, but I go to all the trainings and I know these laser technologies well. So here's what you're going to discover by hanging out with me today for this little short webinar. I'm going to give you clarity, and you'll finally be able to diagnose what's causing slowness and unpredictability with your laser. Once you know the causes, then it is very easy to fix it. But if you don't know what the causes are, you don't even know where to start. And that's where I find so many people. And I really can help you out with that today. And that's what I want to do today. And when you do this, you'll discover the ingredients that are required that you can optimize your laser now. And you can get a solution that is not overly complicated. It's simple and it takes the least amount of time as possible. I do not want you to implement anything that's going to screw up your schedule at all because I know how frustrating that can be. And the last thing you want to do is hurt your patients. They're not guinea pigs. And how do you phase this in without hurting your patients? And you want to get these better results. Why do this if it's not better than a burr or scalpel? So I want to show you how to do that. And maybe most importantly, too, is it's got to be fast. If this is slow, it doesn't work. So you're probably saying, Nick, I didn't experience any of this, but I'm going to give you a different perspective on this today and how to fix this. Now, you are not in the right place right now. You can stop this if one, you're kicking butt basically with your Waterlase already. Is it already saving you time? And it's you're doing more than you ever done before. You are doing things that used to be difficult and bloody with your scalpel and burn. Now you're doing that with the laser, and they're much easier. You're doing over 50% of your cavity preps without anesthesia in half the time, and you've doubled your new patient flow, and you're getting amazing and unsolicited referrals already. Believe me, and if you get upset when somebody gives you an awesome content and makes an amazing offer at the end, then you can probably go now because these are the things that I'm going to share with you and help you get to today. So, first of all, if you do stay to the end, I've got two things, actually three. One is I've got, I think this is 15 pages guide of the causes and some extra pearls I didn't have time to get to in this presentation, actual setting, technique details that I'm not going to dive into today. So this is a great recap, and it's got more information on what causes laser inefficiencies and how to fix them. And then I've got something special as well I made for Waterlase user. It's case, I call it an insight report. It's case narrative notes. So in other words, what you can do is it's got your eye plus soft tissue, cavity preps, perio repair, osseous contouring. You can cut and paste and then alter for your case notes. So it's a great guide for that. And it'll really speed up your case notes. Plus, I took Teresa Duncan's presentation she did, and I have a link to this, but I highlight some of the key things about billing and coding with lasers and insurance and how to optimize that. It is a great report. I've really gotten good feedback on it. So that's there for you at the end. Plus, I got a bonus offer at the end that I think you'll really be excited about. So this is why I do what I do. I worked with Jill. Gosh, this has been a couple years ago, but really, I went in and I helped her. She was getting ready to return her Biolase. She said it just didn't work. It was actually on sale on eBay the time I went to her office and worked with her. But this is what I did for her. I just made her more confident and understanding to make it easier. And what happened as a result of that, not only did she not return it, she bought a second Waterlase. She hired a new associate. She added an operatory. She used that increased revenue to help build her practice. And that's really a model of what I'm looking at to do with you. So, and a lot of things I want you guys to realize is it's little things make a big difference. And a lot of times, guys, you're this close to getting to where you want to be. You just don't realize it yet. So here's a little bit about why I became obsessed with helping dentists with lasers. So I've been doing this 23 years now. And when I started, I worked for this company called Hoya, and they are an erbium laser similar to the Biolase, but a very old model of it. Think of 22 years ago. But when some dentists, and I emphasize some, bought it, it really transformed their business. They were doing existing procedures faster. They were doing more procedures, things they never thought they would do. They were wowing patients. Patients were freaking out in a good way. They were referring people. They were enrolling in care easily and more simply because it was a different patient experience. And like I said, their new patient flow was doubling and sometimes tripling. And it was less stressful for the dentist. The procedure times were shorter and easier, right? But the other thing I noticed is why did this just happen with some and not all? And it's really been my mission for the last 25 years to figure that out. Now, today, you guys have a Waterlase, and the lasers we have today are much superior to what I was coaching, right? But we still have the same problem. And what I discovered is why some people like it and some don't was that there's a problem. in that people don't understand the root cause. And so many times today I hear, oh, my laser sucks or it's okay. It's slow, it's inconsistent, I get bleeding, I had ouches, it causes a problem in my schedule, it isn't what I thought it would be. But what I've discovered over my tenure in laser dentistry is that there's really seven root causes that cause all those symptoms. And the ironic thing is, for someone that says, my laser is awesome, I have two, and they're saying my laser is fast, consistent, bloodless, plain, pain-free, and saves time, the root causes of their success is the same as the root causes for failure. It's just we don't know how to articulate it and explain how we did that. And that's what I want to give you clarity on today. So let's dive into these seven root causes. Number one is that people take a traditional approach to learning to laser dentistry. One of the things I want to be honest with you is this is very different than tactile dentistry, which is burr and handpiece. This is not. This is visual. It's non-tactile. And you can say to me, Nick, I've taken all the required manufacturing trainings. I spent extra time on YouTube and I'm still not having success. That's because we haven't done this transition from contact to non-contact. And my analogy, it's like going from driving a car to say, okay, I know transportation. I know how to get from place A to B. And now you buy a plane and you say, okay, I took a class, in Phoenix on Thursday and Friday. I'm ready Monday to take off, land, and fly without a problem. It is completely different. Sure, it's transport to A and B, but it is different. It is apples and oranges. And a lot of times what happens is you go to this course, okay, you watch it, you think I got it, and now you go in and you try it and you're kind of sweating bullets. Your security blanket, maybe of anesthesia isn't there. You're trying to do something without an injection. The patient is jittering, having ouches. Your schedule ran long. Your assistant is going, wait a minute, this is taking forever. Push that thing in the corner. They don't like it. And you park that jet. You park that Waterlase and you're like, I don't like it, right? And what I want you to realize is this is not your car. This is not your burr. This is not your scalpel. It's different. Okay. You need to know that this is a habit. It's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to form that habit. And I'm here to help you be that co-pilot and get you along the way. Now, as I mentioned, your handpiece and scalpel are contact. There's minimal technique. Hey, if you want your scalpel to go deeper, you push harder. That's intuitive to you. And the patients are numb. You have that security blanket. Now, when I have the laser saying, okay, don't touch, okay, and it is very technique sensitive, right? Very technique sensitive. And that's one of the things a lot of manufacturers don't tell you. And you need to know how to adjust power. It's not just like a burr, I need to push harder. And you can't just rely on those presets. I got news for you. Those presets are great starting points. Okay. You're gonna have to know how to adjust it. And when you get good at this, a lot of times the patient doesn't have to be numb. But what cases are those? So those are the things that you need to discover and that I can help you with. So lasers are not harder, they are just completely different. It's like going from that Ferrari to a jet. They're two different animals. And don't underestimate these two things. It's technique sensitive. It's not hard, it's just technique sensitive, and you got to know how to adjust the power. So, sometimes simple isn't easy. Like I mentioned, lasers are simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It just takes a commitment to go through that learning curve and also unlearning what you're doing with your burr to with your laser can be difficult as well because you've been doing it for years. So as I mentioned, it's the change that is hard, right? It's not necessarily the technique that's hard. And sometimes when you don't know what is causing it, it can be very, very frustrating. And I'm sure you experience that. So I want to give you clarity on that. So the second thing is that a lot of times I've noticed dentists have really unrealistic expectations in regards to timing. Okay, I bought this thing Monday. This is going to work better than my drill. It doesn't quite work like that. And I told you it's very different. And you may even say, Nick, I tried it and it doesn't work. My patients hated it. Well, one of the things I want to emphasize is again, it takes 6 weeks to form a habit, and you're not just going to go fly a plane, on Monday after a course, you've got to phase it in, and I'm going to talk about that. But maybe even more importantly, practice. Have you practiced since you went to your training course? I'm going to give you specific things to practice and make sure you practice before you do something for the first time. For example, and I'm not going to get into all this today, but I have a little restorative, and this is on my Pearls workbook, and I have a little extra bonus class if you want to take it on restorative. You've got to know the different settings for different structures and the different sounds on each one. And then practice that on a tooth or on an apple or on a chicken wing or chicken bone or a hot dog. And there are different practice techniques that you can do to hone those skills. And anesthetize while learning. Sure, you can do some of these things without anesthesia, but please do the first 5 to 10 cases, numb them up. Otherwise, you're just going to be on pins and needles, get ouches, etc. And also, you need to know what you can and can't do with that anesthesia once you do get good at it. And I can tell you this with your Waterlase, anterior teeth are easy, right? Incipient caries are easy on class ones. But what's harder is a little bit, lesions into the dentin when you start to get a little bit more into the dentin. And what's hard with your Waterlays are large class ones and all of class twos. So if the first case you try to do is a class two, I guarantee you probably got some ouches. So we want to start with our anterior teeth, our class fives, and move down that line. Same thing with restorative. We want that plan. Again, you don't need to numb up as much, but still numb up maybe with a quarter carpule. And you need to start to understand S and H mode. S and H mode and how can you use them. Don't just rely on rapid cut, speed cut. Okay, you can't do buttonology. You need to understand that starts with gingivectomies, then go to fibromas, then go to operculums. Now we get good at that. Now we'll do some frenums. Okay, now let's start to do our perio repair protocol. Now that I understand how the tissue interacts on these easier procedures and I know how to adjust my S and H, my hertz, and my power, my millijoules. So that's really important. Restorative, same thing. Numb up those first few patients. Don't rely on the presets. Do flat surface anterior teeth first, then do some class ones, then do some class ones without anesthesia. And then if you get good at that, maybe try some class twos. So have a phased approach plan. And I hope that most of you did that. And if you don't, I can help you out with that. And then you need to let your team be aware and mark on the schedule what you want to start using the cases on. I can tell you this, if you do not have the laser fired up and ready to go, it won't get used. Why? Because it's uncomfortable to you. You don't like to be outside your comfort zone, and it's easy to say, oh, it's not plugged in. Let's just do it the traditional way. Whereas if you take your billing soft or you take your your software out and you put a little star or color code that, just like here, like all laser procedures are in blue. My team knows to have the laser up, ready, on standby, purge prime, ready to go, right? So it's setting their tips on, ready to go. Otherwise, guys, it isn't going to get used. So you need to do that. You need to let your team know to have this thing ready to go. Also, expectations. Know that if you have an ouch or something happens, that is not a failure, right? That doesn't mean that the laser doesn't work. Okay. You as dentists, and I get it because I'm the same way, it's either right or wrong. And you know what? Ouch sucks. This doesn't work. We're learning how to do this. You need to think to yourself and be more of a scientist and say, why did I get that ouch? That'd be like saying, you know what? I slammed my fingers in the door once, car door. I'm not going to use a car door anymore. I'm just going to roll down the windows and go in Dukes of Hazzard style because that hurts. Well, if you knew what causes the ouch, just don't put your fingers in the door hinge like that. You won't get ouches. You're just not realizing what causes the ouches. So we need to discover what is causing that so we can learn from it. What's the lesson learned? Why did I get that ouch? Oh, okay, I'm going to grow from that. I'm going to be better next time. So take that scientific approach. Okay. Now, three, you do not change your patient communication. This is especially important when you're using the laser on restorative, right? You need to pre-frame their expectations. And you can say, Nick, I don't tell me how to communicate to my patients. My patients love me. I get it. Okay. I understand that. But what I'm talking about is more of the expectation with the laser. What you need to realize is that 60% of the people in the United States do not go to the dentist for fear and anxiety. And this is true. 60% aren't seeing us. They fear the shot and the drill. So anything that we can do, we will never not have a shot and a drill, but anything we can do to reduce that, patients love it. The other thing is, of the 40% that choose to come see you, and they love you. I get that. That's true. But of those 40% that come to see you, 82% of them are anxious and nervous. And anxious and nervous people don't make good decisions and they're on heightened nerves. So it's important to realize that. So you need to pre-frame your patients because they're nervous and anxious. And these are people at a haunted house, right? And when they get scared, look at their reaction. Now, what if before they walked in the door, you had a conversation with them and said, you know what? In 4 seconds, there's going to be a guy in the corner that's going to pop out in a werewolf mask. Do you think they'll still have those same expressions on their face? You need to think like this when patients are coming in, you need to pre-frame them to what to expect so they don't overreact when they're in the chair. And I like to use this analogy. What's most important to me is that you have a great dental experience today. Our goal is for you not to have a frozen face. You may feel some cold like ice cream, and that's okay. But please, if you feel anything more than cold, all you need to do is let me know and I'll adjust the laser for so you're comfortable. Will you do that for me? Okay, just raise your hand and let me know. And they'll be like, sure, great. As opposed to saying, okay, we're going to try this laser today. We're going to see if we don't have to give you a shot. Okay. One, never use the word shot or drill before a procedure because it's what patients fear most. And you don't want to be wishy-washy or we're going to try to or we're going to do this. You need to be positive and pre-frame it this way and let them know, hey, this isn't unicorns and rainbows. They're going to feel something, but it shouldn't hurt. Cold's okay, more than cold's not. But guess what? You're in control. All you got to do is raise that left hand and let me know. And that's what this paragraph did. If you're not doing that, you probably have some apprehension. The patient is sensing that. They're on heightened nerves anyway. And now you just made them more nervous because you said we're going to try something. Don't do that. Be confident, short, sweet, to the point. This is a good script to use. The next thing, so we talked about three things now that cause laser inefficiency. The fourth one is team. Okay. You don't involve the team. You bought the laser, you went to a course, you came back Monday and you try it. And it's just like that analogy I gave where they just witness you struggling. They're not going to be excited to use this. You need to have a team meeting and let them know. It's not saying, hey, Nick, I have a great team. They know the laser maintenance setup in and out. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about in this team meeting is you need to understand and you need to share with them why you bought the laser. What excited you about it? What's it going to do for the patients? What's it going to do for you clinically? What procedures can we do now we didn't bit before? What is it going to do for the practice? And what does it mean for them? And they need to understand all of this so they can have coherent messaging and everybody be in sync saying the same thing and be an extension of your pre-frame, right? When you're coming in. And they need to understand what that they need to focus on and then they'll be excited about it. And maybe you can say, listen, if we achieve all these things, then we're going to do this, insert whatever the team wants. Maybe the hygienists want a Cavitron or maybe a team building trip to a fun place in town or a game, a baseball game, a football game. Okay. That will get them excited. They'll be excited about it and be on board, but you need to share why you bought it. And you need to also say, listen, there's a learning curve associated with this, and it's going to take a little bit of time, and I'm going to need your support on that. Okay. Now, they need to also understand hey, it can increase new patient flow. Okay. And I love, especially when patients have a great experience and they're like, oh my God, that was awesome. They need to be holding a sign that has your brand, your logo, your phone number, your website, so they can share that on social media because video testimonials are 20 times more powerful than the written one. Not for everybody, but guys, you will start to get these experiences, and the team needs to be aware of that. So if new patient flow is important to you, you need to do this. Enrollment rates will go up. What most people in the team doesn't realize is let me go back so you don't cheat and look at this. If I asked you right now, what do you think your enrollment rate percentage is. When you propose care, what percentage of the patients say yes? What would you guess? Well, if you're like 90% of the general dentist out there, you probably said, oh, about 90%. When reality, when we go in and we run practice analytics on your numbers, the average is about 30% below that than you think. So it's about 60% in the US. Guys, that's a big, big potential of revenue production right there if you just work with your team to get enrollment rate up. So lasers can help tremendously with that. And your team needs to understand just a little bit of pearl about enrollment. Enrollment isn't yes or no. Enrollment is a process. Don't get depressed when people say no, because most of the time, team never follows up. And enrollment happens 80% of it on the fifth to 12th contact, especially in dentistry because they're nervous. 83% of people are nervous and you make poor decisions. But if you can use the laser to reduce that anxiety, have some team communication, and be aware that it's a process and know it can help, we can bring that to the first, second, or third mention of it. So lasers really help with that. And just a pearl to go home with is no just means no today, not forever. Okay. And the other thing is, especially with new patients, slow your roll. Imagine going out to dinner, you're on a date, and you go out and you propose to somebody. You're asking them to marry them on the first date. They're going to be like, slow your roll, dude. When people are coming to your practice for the first time, take a breath. They're nervous. Just get to know them, build rapport. Don't ask to get married on the first date, so to speak. And a lot of times, when we propose care and do it very quickly and aggressively, that's what it can seem like. So now we talked about team. We got the team on board. We got them excited. They're keen on coherent communication across the board, and we're good to go on our messaging and our pre-framing. Now I want to get to the nuts and bolts of this. Not enough emphasis is put on technique. And I mentioned this earlier, lasers are very technique sensitive. And I get it. Even if you paid attention in class and you did what they said, you need to be aware of what's called the forgetting curve. And Ebbinghaus noted, you only are going to retain 10% of this after a week. Did you retain the right information that was presented? You guys got a lot of stuff. The manufacturers are doing a much better job today than they did in the past with training. But did you retain the critical information to make the laser work like you need it to work? Now, I'm going to tell you this. There are three things that are absolutely critical from a technique perspective. Distance, one, you cannot, and I get more into this in my workbook that I'm going to give to you at the end. And I've got different classes on this in detail, but you're very close. You're half a millimeter away. If you're too close, and so many times, like especially on soft tissue, if you feel like you're strumming a guitar with your laser, the laser cuts at the end only. That's no bueno, no good. It should never feel like strumming a guitar. You need to think like you're writing with a felt tip pen, and it's just close enough to draw the ink. If you're too far away, it doesn't write. And if you're pushing hard, the ink splatters all over and it won't write. That's kind of the sensation, especially on soft tissue. Now, on hard tissue, we don't really even want to be that close, okay? But that's just an example. Distance is critical. If you're too far, it doesn't work at all. And if you're too close or touching, it hurts. The angle to the target is critical, and the speed of movement is critical. If one of those is off, it doesn't work. And there's not one speed. Okay. And this is why some of the dentists out there that are great dentists, they may have an intuitive speed that's good for them, but that's not your speed. And they don't even actually coach it. Right. And if one of these is off, it doesn't work. Now, the other thing, number six, almost done, is you're not aware of pace and timing. And pace is timing for not only efficiency, effectiveness, but pain. And you may say, Nick, I get it. I was taught the slower you move, the faster it cuts. But here, I want you to think of this differently. Imagine if we have our finger over a candle, just like that picture there. I can play this game, but I can only play it for so long before I get thermal necrosis. Okay? We need to be aware of that. And if you're not managing that, you're going to get ouches. So even if you have great technique, if you're not in tune with your pace and timing, you're going to get ouches. Okay, we call this thermal relaxation. And there's two levels of this you need to be aware of at a micro level and overall working on the case. And again, there are some great dentists out there that are great laser dentists, but they kind of do this naturally and they don't even talk about it because their hand just does it. They don't even know how to articulate it. This may be the first time you were told about this, okay? And just as an example, is what I want to share with you was think about this at a macro level when I'm working, let's say this little incipient lesion on class one, right? This is what I'm talking about with micro timing. So here's what I say to all the doctors I work with. I don't want you spending more than 1 minute with your laser on enamel, then 1 minute on dentin, 1 minute on caries. On average, 3 to 5 minutes. If it's a larger area, maybe a little bit longer, but no more. Because if we're spending more time than that, that's like running my finger over the candle, right? I can play this game, but I can't play it for 7 minutes because I was going to get hot. Now I can play it for especially this. I could play this game for over a minute. But at some point, it's going to get hot. So that's what I'm talking about, the macro pace and timing. Now, when I'm talking about the micro, now we want to divide the tooth when we start working on it into little quadrants of 2 to 3 millimeters. And I want to spend 5 to 7 seconds here. Now I'm going to shift over to the next quadrant, shift over to the next quadrant. Let that rest. Thermal relaxation is that concept. Okay, I'm going to do that twice. Now we're going to go to the other incline cusp. So if you're not even thinking about this, you've probably never even came to your mind that this would cause sensitivity. Once you understand that, it's like aha moments, right? So that's what we need to be aware of. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, it is you do not know how or when to make settings adjustments. Settings adjustments are critical. And I want to apologize to you, quite frankly. If you were told kind of just to set it and forget it, I have a philosophical difference with that. I don't believe that. I don't believe you can put it on one preset and go. Now, there are different things. There are certain situations where that is absolutely true, but then there are certain situations where it is not. Okay. And you need to understand that. Think of an analogy like this. If I put my oven on at 400 and I'm baking something, are you going to put it on 400 for everything? Are you going to use that for cookies and steaks and what? And you may say, well, Nick, it's not that simple. A steak, I only do 400 for 15 minutes at this. Well, what if the steak's that thick? Or what if it's this thick? What if it has a lot of fat? That's tissue isn't tissue isn't tissue. And that's the point I want to get across. Bone isn't bone isn't bone. Your anterior ridge here is much different than a tori back here, right? And so you need to know, based on those situations, how would you change that dial? And that's how you need to approach this. I think those presets are great, great starting points. But depending on your hand speed, the tissue type, the distance you're at, your natural rhythms, the settings may be different. And once you know how to do that, now you're going to have speed and predictability. If you rely on presets, you will never have speed or predictability. You just won't. And it's not hard, it's just different. And when you understand how it works, then you know how to make these adjustments in the chromophore and things like that. You need to understand that the power isn't the only adjustment you make. You make spot size or tip adjustments, water, air, your distance, angle, and speed of movements are all variables. So we're not just juggling three balls, we're juggling seven of them. This isn't hard because most of these are kind of preset, but these are variables you need to understand. And also, when you start to understand this and make the laser more efficient and effective, and you're using the least amount of power to attain your clinical objective, you're going to have much less maintenance issues. Okay. Now, for some of you, if you're taking veneers off and you're touching, you're going to blow up your fibers. And when you understand this in a little more detail, you understand why. Now, I was also talking about micro adjustments with the tooth structure, remember? Well, this is another case in point. Let's just go back to that example at a micro level. Remember I said 1 minute on enamel, 1 minute on dentin, 1 minute on caries? Well, what are those settings? Rapid cut, speed cut, whatever cut, that means nothing to me, right? I want to know what settings I should be in on the different structures, on pediatric structures, and they change. Now, I want to make a disclaimer here. This settings adjustments and adjusting presets are mostly for your soft tissue surgical and your restorative dentistry, cavity preps. For perio repair, endo, your osseous, your open or closed flap settings, they should not be adjusted. Okay. They can be adjusted if it's open flap and you can see what you're doing, but for the perio repair, endo, etc., keep those settings are kind of written in stone. So I just want to make a disclaimer on that. So, in summary, here are the seven root causes. When we get all these under control, that's when the magic happens. One, I understand this is not my handpiece or a drill. It's going to take a 6 weeks learning curve. I'm not going to have an unrealistic expectation of implementing Monday. I'm going to have a phased approach. I'm going to change the way that I talk to and pre-frame to my patient. I'm going to involve the entire team so that they understand the vision why I bought this. They're going to be reignited and excited about it. And I am really going to focus on my technique because I know that it's critical. And if one of these things are off, it's not going to work. And I am going to pace and time so I don't cause sensitivity and thermal necrosis, i.e., pain. And I'm going to learn how to adjust the laser. Now, this may seem overwhelming, but you may not realize it, but you're 90% there. These are just some minor tweaks. That's why this isn't hard. So my entire focus in dentistry changed the moment I started to understand this because I understand the complete formula that an alternative approach is required to get your laser kicking ass and removing all those frustrations. That's why you bought it, right? It's it's just a matter of removing those obstacles and effing anything is possible for you guys, right? So we can do all those things that you saw. Trust me, I have seen it done over and over and over again, and so can you. And I'm not some tech whiz or some freak savant. I'm not even a dentist, guys. I've just been doing this for almost 25 years. I'm a great coach. I know how to watch you and help you make it work and adjust your settings and technique and show you easily how to adjust a laser. That's my job as a coach is to show you how to make it work. And so hopefully I've enlightened you today and exposed you to what it takes. And my gift, I believe, is making the complex simple so that you can get the results you want, right? I don't care where you are in your journey. I don't care if you're ready to retire. I don't care if you're a year out of school. Okay. You can do this with this approach, right? And this is why I do it again. These success stories. Chandra was awesome. I worked with her and I really appreciate what she said in regards to this is top tier. If you're really looking to understand how the laser functions and runs more efficient and more profitable and help more patients, that's what I did for her. Helped her see that and do that. So fast forward today, I go all over. I travel, I keynote at various topics. I think this is last year. I was at the AAD on leadership. I work with all the manufacturers. Like I talked about, I consult with them. I advise on the Academy of Laser Dentistry. I've filled various roles there. I'm the director of laser mastery for the largest dental, management consulting firm and coaching firm in the country. Very active there. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of these. But here's what I want to do. I want to do thousands. That's why I'm presenting to you online today because I want to get more exposure out of there. And I want to give you a solution that's more online self-paced as opposed to me coming to your office. I want you all to experience those benefits. That's why I'm doing this today. So, a couple things to keep in mind, and then I'm going to wrap it up. And you're close. Don't think because it works. It doesn't work. You just need to make a few adjustments, and I want to help you with that. And some of your beliefs, I just want you to be aware they may be limiting beliefs. Oh, I can't do that, or my laser sucks. Those could be limiting beliefs. You just don't know quite how to do it yet, right? And we want you to do that. For example, Kent, I worked with him on a Solea, but it doesn't matter. I changed his belief system on what he could do. He had it and he thought he was doing okay. But when I showed him a few of these pearls, he goes, I just didn't think that could be done. You really changed the way I look at things now. So it's about taking action, though, guys. And even if it's one, actions equal results. You've had this thing long enough. Don't wait until you feel perfect because guess what? It's never going to be perfect. And you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but know outside your comfort zone is where the magic happens. So don't just stay in your box no matter what you do. That's all I ask. So, what are the big benefits? One, I want what you're currently doing with your handpiece and scalpel to be better when you use the laser. Two, I want it to save you time. Three, I want it to open the door to make once complex cases simple with the burn scalpel much easier with the laser and cleaner. So things I didn't think I could do, I want to open the door to those, and I want those to become much simpler than you ever thought they could be. I want it to completely change that patient experience. I want it to be, holy cow, I didn't feel anything. That's awesome. And it heals so much better. It's amazing, right? I want to elevate that patient experience. And we're not running a charity. Even if you got into dentistry to serve, I applaud you for that. But I want you to make more money so that you can better serve your patients and better serve your team and live the life that you want to live. You deserve it. Okay. And I want that team cohesion. I don't want them thinking, oh my God, my team members hate it. When I bring out the laser, they're going, what are we doing? Nah, I want the opposite. I want them saying, come on, doc, let's use that laser today. And I want them talking to the patients about it. I want it to have less stress in the practice because it makes things easier. And as I mentioned at the top, I've seen it and I believe it. I want you to, when you start doing this stuff, now the laser becomes a catalyst to attain that dream practice you always wanted. It's making procedures simpler. It's making you more money so that you can invest in the things and create that practice that you want for you, your patients, and your team. I really, really do believe that because I've seen it. So, nothing I've shared with you today is theory or concept. It works. I've seen it. I've been doing this for 23 years and seen it work with far inferior technology back in the day. Okay. So I've done this and I want to help you as well. And it doesn't matter if you're new or old, it's a matter of taking action. Don't give up now. If not now, when? Right? So let's take some action. So, I'm sure some of this resonates with you. And if any of it did, you can do this. So the obvious question is, what are you going to do? You have a choice. One, you can try to do this on your own. And the PDF's great. The freebies are great. And I think you'll get some pearls and you're going to get a little bump in efficiency. But no, when you do something alone, you usually have one step forward and two steps back. You get a little cocky and then the next one fails type of thing. And all the greatest athletes and even the greatest dentists that I know have people helping them to improve. Think of it like this. It's like if you're running a race and there's a hurdle in front of you, you're going to stumble and fall. Well, someone's done that race or can help you or remove those hurdles even. You know, Smart people learn from others. Brilliant people learn from others' mistakes. No, I said that wrong. Smart people learn from their mistakes. Brilliant people learn from others' mistakes. And that's what a coach is. Sorry, I fluffed up on that. So I'm not perfect, right? So here's what we have. What are we going to do? You can do it yourself, or I got a brand new program. I've been working 3 years on this. I'm so excited about it. It's self-paced. It's an optimization program, soup to nuts for your Waterlase, where you get in detail direction on how to do this. And what it is it's online and it's three modules, if you will: clinical confidence and predictability, proven detailed team for success, and a business framework. So, no missing steps, no confusion. I'm going to talk to you about all this stuff into detail I mentioned at a high level today, and you take it at your pace. And I give you weekly action items. I kind of want you to don't do it for a few days and then quit. I want you to do things because as you're doing, you learn. It's about action to keep on track, step by step, different videos you can watch on different clinical procedures. Plus, you get lifetime access. This isn't you got it for a month or two, and I'm going to be adding to this, improving upon it, adding information. You can get on it 24/7. This is what it looks like. It's a little library here on the side, and it's got a little progress bars on each one as you go, and you can't go to the next level till you get done with one. And these are the different phases of integration from tissue interaction and science and foundations and settings adjustments in detail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when I was a coach, how much would you pay for less stress and saving your time and transitioning your team to that dream practice and remove that uncertainty that you have now and having those business metrics go up and increasing production by 10%. I mentioned I used to be a coach in Vegas and we charge 3 grand a month to come into the offices and work with the teams and do that sort of thing. So, that's expensive. And, but I want you thinking more along the lines of if I don't do this, what's it costing me? Imagine if you could have all those things I talked about. What would that be worth to you? And I'm not charging you 36 grand for that. My entire system is just over 2 grand with lifetime access. You get all the workbooks, the reports, the team presentations, detailed peri overview, money back guarantee. All I ask is that you go through, you log on, you do it, and you do that for at least a month and follow the protocol. Because if you do it, it'll work. If you just buy it and don't do it, it's not going to work. I'm not going to give your money back if you don't do anything. But if you do it and it didn't work, then sure, right? And just look at these success stories. So Steven, I worked with him. He said this to me after this. It's the best training I had in 40 years of dentistry. What a compliment to me. So it works. So you get all this stuff. And two, if you've watched this, you've stuck around now, I'm going to give you a bonus for sticking along for 24 hours. If you sign up now, I have the same course, but for diode lasers. So if you have a diode and you think your diode doesn't work or you want your hygienist to use it, the exact same thing for diodes. So you can get that course as well. I charge 750 bucks for that 6 CE course. You can have it for free. So sign up within the next 12 hours, you get that for free as well. But you know what? I'm going to do one more. So why not? Instead of 2,200 bucks, 1,598 for everything. So if you want to do it, it's there for you. I hope you do something, right? At least get those workbooks, and I think you'll get some pearls out of that. Or you can do 3 equal payments for 599 over 3 months. I mean, gosh, that's if I can get you comfortable in your team finding one new soft tissue procedure a month or two, boom, that's easily paid for. So, in summary, I'm going to let you guys go with this. I really applaud you for buying the laser. Now let's just get it doing what you envisioned it to do and help you build that dream practice and make it repeatable so it's consistent. And know that this is a charity. I want you to make money. So I got a bunch of stuff in the air to help with that as well. So that's my new program. You're sure you now know what it is. So I've talked about those free reports you can get at the beginning, and all you need to do right now is scan this QR code. And what it's going to do is it's going to take you to a page and just put in your name and email, and I'm going to send you an email with these two reports. And all the information that I just offered you are on this program as well, if you want. That's all there. And also, if you when you put this in, I email it to you. If you ever, I'll be sending out when I have new things. I have little things on like abfractions and bloodless frenums and little pearls of information with your laser. I'll send those to you. So remember why we got the Waterlase, right? Why did you get it? For a better patient experience, for better clinical results, for better business results. And I want that for you. You deserve it. So go ahead and log on to this page, check it out, get those free insight reports, get that free notes, the cliff notes for your and the insurance information. And I hope to see you on the VIP page. And you know what? And if I don't, I'll send you the information on things that I come up with. Thanks again for the honor of your time. Just don't give up. You're that close, and I want to help you get there because you deserve it. We'll see you on the other side.